What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. I'm Keith and I make board games for a living, and that's why I like to pay close attention to Magic the Gathering, because it's the board game, really. And I've been playing a lot of Brawl, I've been playing a lot of Commander recently, and I recorded a video just the other day about what cards that I believe should be banned in Brawl, which is kind of a response to me wanting to update the game changes list with some cards that they've forgotten. And I think we shouldn't always just talk about what needs to be removed. We should also talk about what needs to be added. This is my wish list of cards that they need to print into Magic Arena to make Brawl more fun and interesting, according to my humble opinion. Let's get started with some really easy stuff. Let's just really ease it in with Perfect Jewels. Yeah, that's right. Fuck you. I think Perfect Jewels should be on Arena for Timeless and for Brawl. Having a shit mana base is one of the things that makes these formats really rough. Everyone wants to play all those kind of crazy things. And then, like, I'll build a deck on Brawl. And I'll go, cool, I really love this commander that is printed. I want to try and play this thing. Like, Half Hull is a great example. I played a bunch of Half Hull on Arena because I get to play with Lumra. I get to play a lot of cool cards that I like to really work with this thing. Because like Bontu and all that kind of stuff from the precon is kind of already on here. And then I go, okay, I'm going to print this out and I want to play it in person. What do I need to change? Thing number one, get real fucking lands in the deck. And what's stopping, like, I get it, there's a reserve list and stuff like that stops them from printing all of the really expensive cards again. It's the fucking online client. The Power 9 is already on there. You can Oracle of Alpha into the Power 9. There's actually a blue merfolk that creates a tropical island. So Tropical Island exists in the game files already. Why can't you just do a Commander Masters, fucking Commander Anthology? I'm trying to think of what the Arena Anthology equivalent is. Brawl Anthology, and you include Perfect Jewels. I don't think that's a big ask. It would do a lot to make the format better, especially because I believe in Commander should be 3 colors. I think all mono commanders suck. I don't like them very much. 3 colors. I like my commander to cost 4 or less. I really like the new, Norman Osborn, where they cost 2 and they flip into something that costs 3. I like that a lot. We should see more shit like that. In fact, there's I think it's Val, who is Naya colors, but only costs 2, and goes infinite with another 2-cost creature, which is horrible, but I really like that design space. And I think more decks should be 3 colors, and I think doing things to encourage your ability to play 3 colors is going to start needing things like this, because this starts being the background of a mana base that just can actually do the thing. Not everything comes in tapped. Not everything is checking, or which land am I supposed to play? Well, my Seachrome Coast is going to come in and play tapped, but if I play it tapped, my my land that requires me to have 2 lands in play already will come in untapped. It's just too hard. We need more stuff that actually creates a good mana base. We already have all the fetch lands. Why can't we have the Perfect Jewels? I think that's kind of an easy win for me. And the next one is another really frustrating point, is that our 2-mana green ramp spells suck balls. Into the North is the best ramp spell in Brawl, and it sucks so much. I hate it so much. Rampant Growth is frustrating because it takes a basic land out of your deck, so if you're playing effects like Cultivate, you just have less targets for it, when I would much rather Cultivate and get 2 things, Flare and get 2 things, and I'm trying to mana fix, so getting a basic kind of sucks. Why is there no Nature's Law? Why is there no 3 visits? We already have Farseek. So I just really wish they would complete the cycle and give us these 2. They just gave us every Talisman and every Signet. Why the fuck didn't they print these at the same time? It is crazy to me. I want to play Half Hull, and it's like, sick, here are your 2 options, not including the one that makes a fractal. Here are your 2 options of a 2-mana ramp spell so that you can play Half Hull on turn 3. Great. But I could play 10 Signets. That doesn't help. I'm playing a land synergy deck. I want Nature's Law. I want 3 visits. And I will not take anything less. And the other thing that I really want for exactly this purpose is Dryad Arbor. They gave me Green Sun Zenith. Green Sun Zenith is like my top 5 favorite cards of all time. I really like Green Sun Zenith, and I really like the comic treatment that they gave it for Edge of Eternity. It's a nice little, pulp magazine cover. And you know what? The one thing that I want to get with Green Sun Zenith is on turn 1, and I cast my thing that's supposed to be, an Arbor Elf or whatever. Fucking Dryad Arbor. Where's my guy? Justice for Dryad Arbor. Give me my guy. Because it's so frustrating having the Green Sun Zenith and not having the reasons for why I want to Green Sun Zenith. So I humbly request that you add Dryad Arbor. But it also has a lot of other kind of benefit for being on the client. You may remember a huge blowout moment where a guy is playing Slippery Boggles. His opponent, Liliana the Veil, goes, "Hey, you have to sacrifice your big Slippery Bogle." And he goes, "Haha, I'm going to crack my fetch land. It says go and find a forest and put it into play. Here's Dryad Arbor, which is a creature and a forest. I will sacrifice that instead." And that is the kind of cool lines of gameplay that I want to start seeing on this client. And so I yearn for Dryad Arbor. And also in that vein, while we're talking about green stuff, I also want Fiendhorn Elves. There's just not enough mana dorks, and if you are trying to play a mono elf tribal strategy, only having the 2, depending on whether or not you have access to Deathrush Shaman or not, you really only have the 2 elves. Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic. I would love to see Fiendhorn Elves. I would love to see more mana dorks, just in general, because of Arena's constricted card pool compared to Commander. When you are looking for things to fill slots, you do start to end up with some really shitty versions. I've been playing Golden Goose in nearly every deck because it just isn't enough mana dorks. We only recently got Noble Hierarch, and that guy is really important if you're playing a Bant deck. And so Fiendhorn Elves is just one that I really found myself adding whenever I try to translate a deck list from Brawl to Commander. But generally, I would like to see a bunch of other cards like this, a bunch of just mana dorks in general, to help kind of build out your options when trying to survive those first few turns and catch up to where your opponent is at. All right, now we traverse into something a little different, a little darker. We're talking about Dance the Dead and Animate Dead. They just gave us Necromancy, an enchantment that returns a creature from a graveyard. Why just one? So why not give us the whole cycle so we can play it in a meaningful way in a Brawl deck? Now, they do have Lennon Relic Water, which does go infinite. They do not have World Gorge Dragon. They do not have Abdel Adrian. It's just Lennon Relic Water, so it's nothing too crazy there. It's not like, oh no, we accidentally printed World Gorge Dragon already. I can't give you, and shut the fuck up. You can just give us this because enchantments that reanimate stuff is good. There is already very few reanimate cards, just in general. So if you did actually want to play a reanimate focused commander, let's talk about Kyova, the Mind Bitten. There's just not enough support for it. You get 3 reanimator cards. I think these should go in there as well. And there's a lot of just enchantment-based strategies that I think would appreciate having this stuff as well, because it's kind of important in general. Now, again, let's move on to something different. This one is High Tide. I love High Tide. I think High Tide is great. High Tide in Brawl is probably shithouse. Honestly, there's nowhere near enough cards for you to really pop off, and it's not really a card that kind of pops off in Commander. And in theory, you could play... I can't remember if it's Rain of Filth or Bubbling Muck that doubles Swamps. But you could be playing both of those. I think that one also could be printed as well, the one that doubles Swamps, alongside High Tide, so that you can try and have a big mana pop-off turn. One of the things that's really missing in Arena is fast mana. And kind of intentionally, there's no Soul Ring. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having no Soul Ring. Dark Ritual is a bit iffy. Because your ability to play multiple times can potentially get a little bit crazy, but there's nothing that kind of abuses it enough. And having just Dark Ritual, I think, is okay. If you have all of the rights, Rite of Flame, Desperate Ritual, all that kind of stuff as well, it starts to lean towards CEDH really quickly. High Tide requires you to have a certain amount of lands in play for it to have any use, and so therefore I think it's probably okay. And then I would love to play this in Historic and just play a High Tide deck in Historic. I think maybe that's more the thing that I want it for, but still needs to be printed on the client for that to happen, so it fits within this request list. So I don't beat me up on that one. Orcish Lumberjack. Now, this also came from the line of thinking of the things I wish I could play with Half Hull on Arena that I am playing with Half Hull on paper. Is this card busted? I can see it being very strong in the Itali deck where you are trying to get to, I think it's 8 or 9 really fast, and I get it. This fits in there perfectly. The format is faster than Itali, so I don't think it's crazy to add this card, add this Infernal Plunge kind of a scenario. And it works fine for Hearthhull. If you think about it, for Hearthhull, you play Orcish Lumberjack on 1, you play your second land, and then you can play Hearthhull on turn 2. Assuming one of those lands is black that you didn't sacrifice, and also you have a forest, and also you have Orcish Lumberjack. So you would need an Overgrown Tomb that you shock in, make a black, and then sacrifice the Orcish Lumberjack. It doesn't actually put you that far ahead because casting Half Hull on turn 2 doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a high enough power to crew it to even activate the first effect. And like, it's more about getting you from 4 to 7 and casting Bontu and something, casting Lumra and something, having Half Hull activated and then using it to crack it and make lands, having Gitrog in play, using this to crack it and do stuff like that, which I think is much more reasonable. I am willing, like, imagine if I had to propose all these things to Wizards and Wizards was like yes or no. I'd be okay if they said no to this one, but I would be happy if it was included, kind of a thing. The other one that's similar to this is Veteran Explorer. I would love to also have Veteran Explorer, but Forest, Veteran Explorer, Flare of Cultivation. I have 5 lands on turn 2. Makes for a really fast format. So I don't know if perhaps they want that exactly, but I think Orcish Lumberjack is maybe a better pick. And then let's move on to our next one, Karmic Guide. This is one that we talked about on the channel previously because there was discourse around whether or not it holds up as a Modern Magic card. And on Arena, we don't have very many good reanimate things in general. We don't really have any good creature reanimate things either. Like, there's no loyal retainers, there's nothing like that. And so I think whilst Karmic Guide is not busted, it's still pretty good. Like, it's a card, like, there you go. Okay, you can add 20 cards to Arena, but only 5 of them can be good. This sits in the 15, and I'm happy that it's there. I know that's such a shitty way of phrasing it, but I think this more of this kind of effect, and such a classic card, such a classic EDH card that's kind of been eclipsed by Power Creep. I think it wouldn't hurt to include it. Now, that's the end of my sane takes. Now it's time for some insane takes. Are you ready? We're going to kick it off with Icarid and Dread Return. Legacy Manaless Dredge players rejoice because I will be printing these cards onto Arena. Icarid I really like in stuff like the Norman Osborn deck, or if you're, God forbid, actually trying to play a probably Sultai Graveyard strategy, or even just a Golgari Grave strategy. There's just not enough guys that do stuff in the bin. And Icarid isn't even the most obscene of them because there's no bridge from below. The thing that Icarid made good, like that was kind of the main thing. In your upkeep, you get your Icarid into play for free, which would trigger your prized amalgams to come in at the end step. But then in your end step, you would be sacrificing Icarid, which would trigger your bridge from below. You would make a bunch of zombies. There's no bridge from below. I don't really think we need to put bridge from below on Arena Client. Yes, it would be cool. I do like that card a lot. I'm happy it's not there. Icarid, on the other hand, has haste. He gets to come in for 3 damage. He gets to do stuff, and I can play like a draw discard tempo deck with Icarid, or I can play a more dredge heavy deck with Icarid. And how is this really that different from the Phoenix, Arclight Phoenix, I think it's called, where if you cast your 3rd spell, they all come back? I think that's fine. You can only play 1 Arclight Phoenix, you can only play 1 Icarid, so it's not crazy. in a format like Brawl. I would like to see more graveyard interacting synergy cards like that. And also Dread Return. Pretty much every Dredge deck, right, relies on Dread Return to make a finisher. Because a lot of the downside of some of these synergies is that you're sacrificing your ability to play what's in your hand. Like if you're playing Bazaar, Baghdad, or whatever, a card that would probably be great on Arena, but would never. And then you'd be able to draw and discard so many cards out of your hand. And then Dread Return is a card that you don't need to find and be holding in your hand. Currently, you're just stuck finding and holding a card in your hand. That's kind of your finisher. It's kind of a reanimate or whatever. Instead, you Dread Return all your Bloodghast, you Dread Return your Ichrid, you Dread Return your Prize to Malcolm, and pretty sure Flavor the Hay Bound's not even on the client. What else have we got? Something that gives all my guys haze or something. I don't think Flamekin is on the Arena client either. I'm trying to think of a creature that comes in, gives you guys haste. I think there's a giant that costs 5, and I think there's an adventure spell one that does it as well. And you hit that guy, and then all your guys get to attack for meaningful damage. And it not being present, I think sucks a little bit. I don't think it's so busted. Like, it still requires you to have 3 creatures, and there isn't enough creatures that come in for free from your bin for a Brawl Dread Return deck to be crazy. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty safe to say that this would be a good addition to the Brawl format. Then let's move on to Sylvan Library. This is like a Commander All-Star card, and green famously doesn't have a lot of card draw. So I think this is probably actually a pretty safe inclusion. Maybe I should have put this earlier in the video as like kind of a safe choice. But I think this one is fine. The main issue, I think, is that in person, how you handle some of these cards. Like, there's a lot of cards that I look at and go, how the fuck was this printed in paper, but not on not as an arena only card, not as an alchemy card. Tigam, Master Opportunist, is one of them. I'm just supposed to track 2 versions of this. I just have to have a second copy of every fucking card in my deck for when he makes the copy. Or every turn when I trigger it, I'm just supposed to have a different separate copy token and just fucking remember what it is. Huh? Whereas on the Arena client, it just does that for you fucking automatically. And this is another one of those cards where I think that's kind of the deal, where you're drawing the extra 2 cards into your hand. They're in your hand. And people have kind of, changed and making it a bit more obvious as to how this is supposed to be done. But the Arena client can just kind of handle it and just kind of know what you're doing and know what's going on. And then, like, the prompts for your paying life and all that kind of stuff. It's just so much easier. This is one of those cards that just would run really easy on the client versus in person. And so I think it's probably an easy include. But if we're adding Sylvan Library, I want to add my other favorite 2-card enchantment. 2-color, 2 mana enchantment. It's been a long day. That's just, it's just the easiest to understand card ever. If you don't know what Chains Mephistopheles does, you haven't been watching this channel for very long, because I've run it in nearly every deck. But basically, it's a complicated card. I don't know if I hinted at that. And Arena does everything automatically for you. So you would kind of figure out how it works just by the nature of when you're prompted to do stuff. Which I think is actually really good at teaching people how to use cards like this one. But it's also really good at punishing excessive card draw strategies like the Esper Sentinel, like the Fey Mastermind, like the Restick Study, which can just be played in this format. And also it gives you upside on, again, the Norman Osmond deck, as you're trying to discard cards to activate Mayhem. Chains will let you do that very easily, and will also potentially hinder your opponent if they're not playing a graveyard or discard focused strategy. I think Chains is a fucking fantastic card. I think more people should be proxying this and playing it in Commander, because the 1 million Restick Study triggers, because the Esper Sentinel triggers, because of there's so many effects that make people draw extra cards, and this punishes them for it. I played it in a game where I was playing Bracket 2, I had an opponent playing Bracket 4, and I had 2 opponents playing Bracket 3. I played Chains of Mephistopheles, and all my opponents were, this sucks, I hate you, you're arch enemy. And I'm like, I'm Bracket 2, man. This is not a game changer. I'm just doing my best to compete with the insane card advantage that you have ahead of me, and they're like, no, 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 you are the one that has to die. So I get it that a lot of people hate this card, but why hate this card, which I think is actually really fair and balanced at dealing with stuff like Restick Study, and not hate stuff like Strip Mine, not hate stuff like Blood Moon being in the format? If you're gonna keep Blood Moon in the format, give me the fucking Chains of Mephistopheles, you coward. This card is great. I'm a big enjoyer. And then our last card, which is perhaps the most spicy one of all. I want Sky Hussar for specifically one reason. I really, really like the survival mechanic. Having your creature be tapped for post-combat works really great. Now, it doesn't work with Kona, the best one, which lets you play Emrakul for free. But it does work with Rip Spawn Hunter, a card that I do really, really like. And you get to tap him, you get to draw a card, and then you post combat man face, he puts a creature in your hand. It's actually pretty good. There was like a legacy deck at the time where you play like 100 1-drops that when you could sacrifice them to potentially counter an opponent's spell, and then you would use this to keep them in play and be drawing cards. And I just think that specifically now that we have the survival mechanic, we do have a couple of cool survival cards that do work nicely with it. For me personally, want this card on Arena because I think it works nicely. I know it's the strangest one on the list. I know you've probably never heard of this card before, but it is very cool, and I like the forecast mechanic very much, even though it wasn't liked very much at the time when it came out. I think this cool is underloved. Sky is underloved. I'm calling it. And that's the end of my list. Some of it makes sense, for sure. Some of it's pretty crazy, but I like them. I would like to play with these cards on Brawl. Some of them I think is a really easy argument. I think the dual lands makes a lot of sense. Mana fixing just needs so much help in the format, and I would appreciate having them there. It doesn't need to be on the client for any other format other than Brawl and perhaps Timeless. Again, a format that really should have them, especially if you have fetch lands already. All of the fetch lands, every fetch land, you probably should also have the perfect duels. Some of the other stuff is crazy. Like, you said no to Icarus, you said no to Orcus Lumberjack. Cool, I get it, but these are cards that I would like to play with on the Arena client. It's kind of a wish list. It's kind of the point. My incredibly biased, perfect human opinion. But I am curious, is there any cards that you really play in regular Commander and wish that you could play on Brawl? Because I think there's still so much space for more stuff to be printed in these Arena anthologies for kind of cards that you are playing regularly that you wish you could be playing on the online client. I would love to hear about it because we like workshopping and seeing how we can improve on this game that we all love. And just let me know. I'm curious to talk about it. And then also, I don't know, maybe click the subscribe button. If you click the subscribe button, they'll print Sky Hustle. They're promised, and you just have to do it. You just have to click that